Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Zenitsu, and you're listening to the Digi Talks podcast, the show that covers various topics from news to meta developments and everything in between for the fine folks who love the Digimon trading card game. Just as a quick reminder, I do try to stream this live over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, but while I'm in this weird transitional phase finding co-hosts, that's going to be put on hold for right now. But fear not, because it's always going to be uploaded under the YouTube channel of Zenitsu, with also being on various podcasting platforms like Spotify for your viewing and listening pleasure. So please feel free to do that whole social media doobly-doo thing and leave that like, rating, follow, subscribe, hype, review, whatever, depending on the platform that you're listening on. It really does help support the podcast, or at least I like to think it does. Today, I am here with a somewhat familiar person. I've done podcast episodes in the past with Team Blank, and we are here with Guardian from Team Blank. So that was like the Digimon team that we were a part of.
Still a part of, but we just haven't been able to meet up for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you're in California and I'm in Michigan, so it makes
Not the
sense.
point.
Yeah. But we've also haven't had that many discussions recently around the game as much as we have had in the past. So,
Indeed. It's just that life has happened, and a lot of us are just having trouble keeping up with each other. That's all it really
which
is.
Yeah, which is why Jay Stewart and Teddy both had to take their own steps back as life circumstances.
Yes. Anyways, I believe today we are talking about parasitics.
No, we're going to be talking about BT24 and
Ah,
kind of just give our overall thoughts and impressions on it, because that's the set that's going to be coming out this weekend, and we are in technically week 0 of it. People played in their pre-releases and everyone's getting hyped for the cards, and we get to, give our own thoughts and opinions as two guys on the internet tend to do. Um,
yeah.
but but before that, we are going to skip the anime segment. Don't know if that's gonna be a constant thing or not. I would like it to be a thing, but maybe I'm just really bad about talking anime without just like heavy spoilers. Um, so we're gonna go
I
right into the comment of the week, which is the comment from last week's video. So if you want your comment to be read, then feel free to leave a comment on this video as well. So we have Optal Coz writing in and saying, "Hey, I'm new and I'm trying to learn how to play the game. And from what I think the game needs is more distribution of mid to low tier decks, since the game is too fast. For example, low cost options, hand traps without security effects, or hand traps with a high cost, yet powerful counters with drawbacks that also have effects out of security. The game needs more powerful security Digimon, or Bandai should introduce a side deck mechanic, since no amount of deck knowledge can prepare you to counter the best deck in the game. A lack of defensive options is what is keeping the game from appearing to be balanced, in their opinion." Well, there's a lot to break down here. Basically, yes, the game's overall speed and tempo is getting too fast. Yes, Digimon as a card game does have a gross underrepresentation of good defensive mechanics. And yes, that is making things feel incredibly unbalanced, and it's not helping keep decks in check. However, I disagree with the sideboard thing, because unlike other games with sideboards, Digimon being an archetypical game means that certain archetypes are going to be able to side deck functionally better than the other decks. That's the big reason why Digimon doesn't have sideboards, and that's why when we tried sideboards, it didn't work, is because certain decks, which are the good decks, can sideboard harder against the bad decks that don't have as much tools as the good decks. So
yes.
that's why side decking is not a thing in Digimon. That's why it'll most likely never be a thing in Digimon. If anything, this is going to be like a really hot take. I'm almost more okay with just going to a best of one. Like, rather, if I had the choice between a side deck and a best of one, my hot take is I would rather just go to a best of one.
I have to agree on that one because with how fast some of this can go, it's better just to get it done and over with. But as far as the where you're going on with the first part of that,
Yeah, the
I
defensive
understand.
mechanics.
I understand with the defense and the sideboard where the idea could come from. However, the problem, like you said, is you never know what it's going to be made. People are just going to hard side into one option. Like, I'll just use for more recent with the Time Stranger that is coming out later this week. If sideboard existed, you would see more people slotting in a card in there called Neptune Mon, which allows you to virtually negate everything and unsuspend itself.
Yeah, it
This
gets
is
one
not a healthy
protection.
card.
Yeah, he gives basically everything protection a total of once. But when you start stacking Neptune Mons, then it's reaching Ex Machina levels of like, oh, my Digimon and my combo or strategy can only remove your thing once because that's what it was designed for. How do I actually deal with this? And some would say like, yeah, that's like the balance between it, where it's just like, yeah, it's a harder thing to set up multiple Neptune Mons. But at the same time, does that make it any less toxic? Like,
No,
yeah,
no, it doesn't. Because as this episode is about 24, and this comment actually is about how fast it is, this game is going, and 24 is going to push it even faster with the introduction of the Time Stranger archetype. The simple fact of the promo rookies that were available to everybody through playing in tournament through the last part of last year to evolve for basically free makes you can get into a mega and virtually stun your opponent out by turn 2. That is way too dang fast.
yeah, we saw with the BT14 Patamon, digivolving for free and gaining memory is like absolutely nuts, and that's what a lot of like standard decks are doing with the usage of their training cards. Is they're basically banking that evolution to search for a card and then just get a free evolution because why not? And when I mean
Mm-hmm.
free evolution, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be using that evolution on the level 4 because you want to maximize on your effects. So that's part of like how things power creep wise has progressed, is because of these types of cards and how the game is designed and how we're playing the game, we're getting so many additional effects, which is why I'm like scared shitless for when moving effects, because now you get effects off of your rookie. So it's just like, okay, when moving, do an effect, crack the training, digivolve into a 4, gain an effect, digivolve into a 5, gain some kind of memory, some way, shape, or form, because most decks have the ability to do that. Get another effect that then goes into another effect off of the what you just played to potentially go into a mega, and then you have your egg to get an effect. Like, you're getting an effect from literally every stage of like every level card. And
Yeah, and it's not good. Simply put, there should have never been a win moving on rookies. That is too overpowered, honestly.
I think limiting it to something defensive like a Betomon core was probably like the best usage of it. Like, it's funny because
Mm-hmm.
like the only problem with that is it just takes too long to set up, which is again the speed and tempo thing. Plus, a Betomon has zero answers to a floodgate, unlike a lot of other decks that do a similar style of thing where they're trying to hard play bigger Digimon and reduce their play cost. He actually has like functionally no answers for those,
Yeah,
where a lot of other decks now have built-in answers. But yeah, it's interesting because I don't necessarily think the game needs hand traps per se. Like, we have them with aces, and aces are a double-edged sword because the idea is, okay, I'm going to use the ace to get rid of my opponent's card and then ruin their entire turn, which most likely is going to cost them the entire game. But if you're just using an ace just to use an ace and they're able to play around the ace, then it kind of becomes useless and actually could start being a detriment, because then they could bait out the ace and then now you lose because they baited out your ace and they're able to remove it and then gain a whole bunch of extra memory, continuing their turn anyway, if not making it stronger.
Yeah.
So,
So aces were a nice mechanic, but now they are, like you said, just baited out more often than not. With things like the Fenrir Lucamon, Takemizuchi, or the Oryumon, or your mode Alphamon, those things you want to see them baited out as fast as possible, just so you can make sure they're not in your way when you move on.
well, actually, it's the monkey's paw situation with some of those aces where they're supposed to be defensive cards, but we're actually figuring out ways to use them aggressively. So, like, there's a Oryu Ace OTK deck where you basically turn, what is it? It's not Mega Digimon Fusion, but it's like the other one that costs 4.
Assembly.
Yeah, Mega Digimon Assembly. Alphamon or you can Ace turns that into a 1-cost option to basically Evo into
Ugh.
the Alphamon Oryukin, and then you just have the Oryumons that are going to burn the opponent's security and allow you to multi-attack. So it's just like, okay, got it. We're just playing defensive cards aggressively now.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
That's not great.
yeah, that's usually the sign of things kind of being poorly thought out. Because the more classic example that I like to use is Magic the Gathering. They banned a card that was supposed to be a defensive card, but people were just like, but offensive decks are using it to turn off the defense. So it's just like, oh, right, totally forgot that that could be a thing. Oops, our bad. If anyone's curious, I've mentioned it multiple times. It's Vexing Bobble. Stops the opponent from being able to play cards for free, which most control decks were playing their counterspell for free. So it's just like, oh, aggressive decks use that to turn off their counterspell. Cool. I guess my aggro just goes completely unchecked. Thanks. When it was supposed to stop the aggro cards, where it's just like, oh, I'm going to play this big body for free on like turn 1 or 2. Like, that was its intended design purpose, and aggro decks just flip the script. So Digimon's in that same type of like camp where they think cards and mechanics are being played one way, but the reality is we're abusing them in so much of a worse way that they probably didn't even think or anticipate. And I think that's part
Yeah,
of the problem.
like for example, I'm just gonna go ahead and point this out right now. The Venusmon initially from BT22 is gonna be, because we are in week 0 and it is an Olympus 12, so it will start being a bit abused by the TS deck and just lock out opponents and
Yeah,
just virtually make it where they can't get through.
I think there's just unfortunately a lot of designer oversight in the card game, and I don't really have a good recommendation for how they could stop it other than just be more careful about how they design their cards. But at this point, I don't really think they even care. As awful as that sounds, because I want them to care and I want to think that they care, I really just don't think they do. If anything, just because of like how Hoodiemon was designed and how poorly received, and not like received by the players, just received competitively, Hoodie CS has been, and how many things that deck touches that it shouldn't, and how much abuse that deck put onto the game. Like it very clearly shows that there's a lot of
That deck should
designer.
not have been able to mix
Yeah, it
the
shows
way it should have.
it shows a lot of designer negligence and oversight, which is unfortunate, which is why things tend to break, which is why our ban list keeps getting bigger and bigger, because the last ban list was like what, 10, 11 or 12 cards, somewhere in that ballpark, if depending on how you want to look at paired restrictions. The previous one before that was 8. The previous one before that was like 6. So like the ban list per update gets bigger and bigger, and they're probably gonna have another big one. Because just off the top of my head, there's 9 cards that should immediately just not exist in the game anymore. Um, so like the list keeps growing and growing, and we don't get enough updates, which is why my hot take, like way back when, a couple of like weeks or months ago, was we need to have more frequent updates so that way they don't get rid of like 15, 20 cards all at once. It looks really bad.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, like Wizards literally had one. They had one official for standard ban and restriction update. They changed that idea to now have 6. So that really goes to show how much VV like absolutely destroyed Magic the Gathering as a competitive standard game, and Wizards is very much learning from their mistakes. So I very much believe Bandai could learn. It's just whether Bandai is actually going to learn or care enough to learn is the real question.
That's a slippery slope on its own, man.
It very much is. But I feel like the design team is still trying to do some kind of defense mechanic because we're like, at least like with Hoodie, we did see a resurgence in options being played. And one of the biggest holes in a lot of Digimon's protection is against options. Most of the time it's like, oh, stop just Digimon effects. If it's not an Omni, like in like I just can't be removed from the field type effect. Because most of those are attached to just Digimon effects, which leaves their vulnerability to be open to options. So I do like the idea on the Time Stranger options where instead of them having delay effects, they're getting link effects to be able to reuse again. So I think that's kind of cool. But it at least is trying to introduce the idea that options are playable because right now options have been incredibly bad as a defensive mechanic, which is what they're supposed to be, because we're just using options as accelerants. Like, how many memory boosts, zero cost options, and like just other accelerant type cards that we're playing? All of the options in most modern decks are exactly that. It's like, let me search out my cards and then set up something with a delay effect to do something even more powerful later. Like,
yeah,
that just breeds combo play. Like it literally just breeds combo play. And they could have turned delay into something more like Biting Crush, where it is more trappy, but the traps that we do have are like incredibly unhealthy because it just plays out it negates essentially what you were trying to do to control the field, and then just makes the opponent's field even bigger, which most likely is going to end your turn. Which, like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. That's what a trap is supposed to do, essentially. But it was just incredibly easy and efficient to set up.
yep.
So, yeah, traps, delayed based traps became very not good very quickly, and they had the potential to be good. So now they're trying to find other ways to make options relevant.
Yeah, that's gonna take them a hot minute because, like you said, they were trying, and then everything happened, and it all went downhill from there.
Yeah.
So
Because I think there is room for defensive type mechanics. Like, unfortunately, the best defensive card in the entire game is Omekamon. Like,
yeah,
literally, Omekamon is the quintessential epitome of this is how defense has to be in Digimon in order to be viable. Where it's just like on your last security, Omekamon plays himself out and then digivolves into Omnimon, which then board wipes the opponent on the spot. Like, he is basically the equivalent of Mirror Force. And you can't have any interaction with him because he brings himself out of the breeding area. So it's just like, okay, what do I do here? Like, the answer is kind of just nothing. Like, if they have an Omekamon set up and you don't have a proper answer for the Omnimon coming, you're very much going to lose the game to it, which is why a lot of decks tend to lose the game to Royal Knights when they're put into those positions. It's not
yeah,
insurmountable, but it's very difficult.
yeah. things like that come out of the breeding area are very difficult to take care of. I know that there was another one that they just printed, which was Drossel, that basically is doing the exact same thing, but turning something of yours into a blocker.
Yeah, like,
But
and that's why they had Abeto Moncore be a really good defensively designed card where when the opponent attacks, I just move myself out.
mhm.
And that's why a lot of people like Dark Masters, because Dark Masters is more annoying than effective because of just the sheer fact that it has just such resilience on the field where it's just like, yeah, my Digimon's going to delete and then I'm going to play out a Mega. That Mega is going to try to disrupt your field. When you delete the Mega, it's going to play out another level 5, and then the level 5 can set up an Ace, or if you're using the new Manzemon or Golfmon, it will delete and then play another Dark Master. So it's just like, oh, I have to delete this singular Digimon like 3, 4, 5 times in order for it to actually go away. Unless
Yeah,
I'm
and
completely immune.
I've seen that and played that kind of card, and I was surprised at how disgusting it could get, how freaking quickly.
Yeah. So, like, nobody really enjoys the stally type tactics also, which is why we don't generally see a lot of those types of decks to begin with, especially from like a TO perspective. Because they want games to be quick so the tournament can be over as fast as possible. Um, so they could get the heck out of there. They already made their money and now they want to leave. That's essentially it. It's just like they're contractually obligated to let this thing play out. So increasing the speed of the game in terms of like, oh, now games don't need to last an hour. Games only take a half hour. That's huge from tournament metric side of things. Um, which is
Yeah.
why everyone hates control decks, but like control decks are needed to try to help keep the game in check. Otherwise, we're running into what we are right now, where almost everything is just hyper aggressive or OTK. Like there's almost no defense being played at all, and if it is, it's by accident, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Unfortunately, there is nothing we can really do about that kind of situation.
right, it's just awkward. Like because I don't want to get into like generic floodgate hell, where it's just like, yeah, just have a floodgate for everything. Like no, because again, deck space is only so limited. You are more often than not better to increase your chances of winning rather than try to decrease the opponent's chances of losing. Like it sounds awkward, but like if you think about it, the opponent isn't going to have that chance all the time versus you where you're going to have that chance all the time.
Hmm.
So that's why it's like literally better to just play towards your own game plan rather than to try to play towards something that's going to hose the opponent. And if you are going to play something that hoses on the opponent, you want it to be built in and incidental, where it's just like it just happens. That's kind of it. It's not something to focus on.
Yeah.
So Digimon's got a lot of growing pains because I don't know if they can keep up this type of a pace for much longer. Because they do a good job, like throughout the year. They'll have like one really bad power spike set, maybe two a year, and then everything else is kind of just mellow. So obviously last year, BT23 100% was the power spike set. 100%. Um, And then we've seen like BT16, that was a big power spike set. Um, we saw, I think it was what BT11 before that was the big power spike set, and then BT9 before it. Like it's different for every year, whether it's going to be at the beginning or the end of the year, or literally like back to back, beginning, end of one year, beginning of another.
Yeah.
So
Either way, it's the model is not self-sustaining at all as far as how fast and how ruthless they're trying to push everything.
yes, very much so. So
And falling back on the topic of this actual episode, for example, it will not hold out very well when we actually see the set release and start getting the metrics coming in.
Yeah. So that's like gonna bring us towards the end of the comment of the week. I know we kind of just went on a lot of different tangents, but it was a very decent comment that had a lot to say, and therefore we had a lot to say about it. So again, if you want your comment to be read, feel free to throw it down in the comment section below. Now we could actually talk about BT24 because that is the new hotness, the next set. Right before it gets completely overshadowed, which it already is, by EX11. Because I ran a poll on Facebook and I was just like, hey, what are you more excited for, BT24 or EX11 or 8001? And the results were unanimous that people just do not care about this set and they're more excited for the Liberator set coming out literally in a month. But that's a
Less
month
than that,
away.
2 weeks.
Yeah, but that's in the future. We are now currently in week 0 of BT24 meta. We do technically have a little bit of metadata. Technically, it's all out of Japan and it's highly skewed. I will say that. But we do have some. But before we get into that, did you play in your pre-release for BT24?
I did.
How'd you do?
I was actually the winner on that. And I will tell everyone right now, this set is gonna be a good one for beginners to get in on. Because out of the box, you got two meta relevant decks in the form of Titan and in the form of actual TS. Not to push off the Appmons, but you need other set support to be able to use that.
I mean, like, just
So
a basic core version of apps. Like, you going with normal deck ratios, you're already 44 cards done. Like, if you just get all of the app stuff from this set, you're already 44 cards done. And the only other two cards, like, realistically, from, like, the best generic app stuff is, like, Haru from BT21 and Big Bang Punch from BT23. And then between those cards, you basically have a fully constructed deck ready to go almost out of the box.
yeah,
Did you
but
watch my video at all? If that helped,
which one?
my pre-release video, because I'm like the only person who
I
does it.
I did not see the pre-release one yet.
No, I worked hard on it. That's fine.
I said yet.
But you already won, so that means my advice wouldn't have helped you because you already were good enough to win yours.
I think it was more luck than actual good, but yeah.
What was your key winning card?
Hiroko, actually.
Really? You just Heroko'd into Cyclone?
Hiroko into Hiroko.
Oh, you Heroko'd into... I Heroko'd into Cyclone.
Yeah, that was the end goal, is just to get into Cyclone just for the final swing on that. But she was actually a really strong card during this one. Another strong one was Asuna with her discard ability.
I pulled both of those in mine. So how many megas did you have in your deck?
I had 4 megas and the Tiedemann Skull Belucci.
You
I never
got
got to use the megas.
interesting. Yeah, because I pulled 2 megas. One of them was Creepy X, and the other one was Medusamon, which my Medusamon came out of my pre-release pack. So if it wasn't for my pre-release pack, I would have had one level 6 Digimon. Just one.
Yeah,
So
it just
you
shows you
got...
how strong this is.
Well, you kind of are forced to play aggressively because, no surprise, I also won my pre-release. It's like the thing I can win generally consistently at. I think the only one of the mural of 4 cards that I don't have is Imperial. I think that was the one I got second place in. I don't remember, but I either have him and he's hiding somewhere, or I don't have him, and I just barely missed out on him. But
Yeah.
regardless, um, studying the set, shocker, does make me pretty decent at it. Is what I kind of came to the conclusion of, even though I don't spend like forever studying it. I just spend enough time to kind of understand what you should be doing. And basically, my advice this time around was treat your level fives like level six Digimon, and shocker, it worked. I just played like high impact level five Digimon that I had, like Agiomon, or I guess Agio Kusmon. That was a pretty powerful card. I didn't have not Jet Sylphie. I didn't have Sylphimon, but I played basically most of the two color Time Stranger stuff that I could. So I played the Garurumon stuff and the Were Garurumon. I played a lot of the Titan stuff because when they died, they played out level fours, which I ran a lot of the Titan level fours, which a lot of those were pretty
Hmm.
good. Like I basically just, if it said TS, it was in my deck.
Yeah.
That was the moral of the story is I played TS two color stuff and it just worked.
Yep. And that tends to be how it turned out for many of the players in that sense.
Yeah, I had one turn where we were kind of like locked, where we locked each other down, where it's just like he had a Metal Greymon with the um blue option linked to it. So I'm just
Hmm.
like, if this thing swings, I'm going to be losing a body every single turn. I can't do that. So I stun locked it for like 3 turns in a row. And then I finally drew into a Medusa. And I'm just like, I'm just going to Medusa this thing away. And then
Which
that
is
was,
the smart option on that.
yeah. And then he just couldn't come back because we were kind of just like trading boards back and forth as I was continuously trying to stun his Metal Greymon. And then I'm just like, oh, I'm finally in a position. Drop the Medusamon, and then the game changed in my favor because I had a level 6 and he didn't.
Yeah.
So,
Tends to happen a lot, especially with this past set coming out. So,
yeah, I think this set had a really weird pre-release. Like, they're all weird, but this one was especially weird because the thing that I noticed is a lot of people were basically playing almost the exact same deck for the most part. It was just some minor differences on what your TS cards were. But like the general consensus was just forget about everything else that doesn't say TS. Unless it's like incredibly high value.
yeah.
So with only 50 TS cards in the set, it did just make it feel very samey. And it was just like, oh, it just felt like mirror matches the whole way through with like no level sixes.
Yeah, exactly. Of which you just had to either roll with it or pray that you could just get through somehow.
Yeah, which is why a card like Hiroko and Asuna for pre-release were like absolutely insane. It's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna play this level 4 out of the trash for free and then digivolve into a high impact level 5. Because, you know, getting an instant level 5 Digimon is like very strong and limited.
They're still going to be very heavily used in the upcoming sets, but the fact of you can just go off of just those tamers and spit out, say, I don't know, an Agiomon, for example. Agiomon will immediately trigger, and if you're lucky to have a Nori, you're jumping into your 5 almost immediately before you even take your first draw.
Yeah, I'm shocked that Titans are not playing um Asuna at all. Like almost
I'm shocked too, because that card is fit for Titans, you know?
so far out of like the early decks that I'm seeing for Titans, one of them uses that card. One. And I'm just like, that's wild. That card's so good.
Especially considering if you spit out something like Hyogamon, you got a blocker almost immediately ready to go for counterattacking your opponent.
No, you
Or
could,
if you,
I would say if you're looking for just a blocker, you could just run like a tech one of the Greymon that also has an on delete blocker or non-delete de-digivolve, which anyone who knows me at this point knows that I'm like deeply obsessed with de-digivolve because it is the best form of removal in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, out of the four Titamon decks that have done good, one of them is running that card, and I'm shocked.
It happens, man. That's all we can say about that is that it happens. We will
Yeah.
be seeing more come out as America only right now has one Digimon and one Gundam event going on the East Coast. We have no information on when we'll have more data on this, as a lot of our stuff will be coming from outside of America, from the UK, the South, the Latin America, etc.
Yeah, this is
So it
like the
makes me sad
dead.
about that.
Yeah, this is like the dead competitive time of Digimon, which is weird because like if you think about the timing of this set, it's January. Like if anyone follows like the movie industry at all, January is the time where you put out like a movie or like even other companies with various different products. January is the dead month where you do not want to put stuff out in January unless you do not care about its sales.
Hmm.
So like the fact that we have a set in January, a set in February, and a set in March, and none of them have any competitive ties, like competitive events tied to them. And if we do, it's like one. Absolutely crazy. So it's just like everyone's rushing to get these cards, and we don't even know if any of them are even good or not.
Yeah, it's it's a little saddening when you think about it.
It kind of is. And like I don't fault Bandai for like not having any events between January and March, with the only exception being like one regional or something. Um and then Worlds. Like it's not uncommon, but it having so many sets jammed in like the worst time frame you could possibly have sets in, that's what that boggles my mind more than anything.
Yeah,
Because I would think that they want to hype the set up because it is Time Strangers, and that is the best performing Digimon game. And they did a really good job adapting a lot of the cards, or a lot of the Digimon and the representation in that game into card form.
yeah, and it was great on how it was. It was like re-experiencing the entirety of the game again, just through the card game this time. Was
Yeah.
really happy with it.
No, I was talking to one of my local peeps, and he's actually kind of like upset that like there's no base Titamon in the set, which is kind of stupid. Considering you have Skull Bellucci Titamon. Um,
Yeah, it's because they're forcing you harder on to getting the promo, of which that price should not have spiked like that.
it is kind of disgusting and egregious. I will agree with that. And from like a limited perspective, it also seems like incredibly stupid. Having a card that's referencing another card that is not in the set. They do it all the time, and it pisses me off to no end because they're trying to advertise like, oh yeah, limited is something you could do, but we don't care to design for it at all. So we have like all of these additional rules just to make this thing functional, and it's still half baked.
Yeah,
Every
a
time.
good substitute though, and for those that cannot afford that Titamon, look up the BT11 Titamon because it will let you gain back memory when you
Oh,
suspend stuff. So
I
it
I'm more in favor of just using good old fashioned BT5 Titamon.
six.
Or yeah,
I'm
BT6 Titamon.
I'm not discarding the BT6 because BT6 is the other one that is higher on the actual good to grab, but that thing's been getting grabbed out by a lot of people as well. That's why I was suggesting the 11.
I mean, I only like BT6 because it says security attack plus. So, and he increases his own DP, so the card just is like, oh yeah, it allows me to push damage, which allows me to push games. So it makes sense
Hmm.
to me. And it's a very easy trigger to hit. You just discard a card, which there's a lot of cards that do that. Shocker, I know, right?
I know, huh?
But a lot of the Titan decks, they do play some supporting level 6, but it's still mostly the promo Titamon. Because it's promo Titamon. He was pretty much made for this set.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that unless you got your set ahead of time, you're kind of SOL'd on that.
Yeah, so it's funny. Some people are actually running like floodgates instead. So it's just like they'll spit out the Skull Beluchimon, and then they'll digivolve into a floodgate. So they could digivolve into like um fighter mode, red purple virus fighter mode. Just to say,
I mean,
okay, now your turn is host.
I can see it, honestly. I could really see it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like decent flexibility that you could have with Titans. Like I feel like TS as an archetype or like a trait is a little bit more open-ended than CS, so it allows for more deck creativity.
Hmm.
Because also the other big thing is a lot of the cards aren't exactly 110% referencing TS as a trait. They also open themselves up for other stuff. So like a lot of the Titan stuff is like, yeah, grab a shaman. Like, okay, there's a ton of shamans I could grab.
Yeah, which brings into the question of the promo Boutmon from long time ago, which can just reduce shaman play costs by trashing your own security.
Yeah, that seems more memey. Like, because if you think about like how decks are built and what cards you're going to be focused on, like if you're going to be doubling down on like AGO Q-Spawn as an example to get into Jupiter, you have to run Agiomon, which means Agiomon needs to be ran with other Agiomon, which means that limits the amount of level 5s that you want to play because of those limitations. I mean, granted, sure, Boutmon is just a pure yellow card, so if you're playing like pure yellow, it could work, but I think you're just
That's
better off
where
doing. Yeah, I think you're just
that's
better
where I was going to
off.
point out the vaccine is going to be pulling that out.
I think you're just better off having like some form of protection because the big problem with the Boutmon is he's not allowing you to protect yourself or win games. So you're just
Hmm.
accelerating into a level 6 that's just going to kind of sit on the field and do nothing. Because the deck doesn't really have a lot of security tech plus or unsuspend to push damage. So it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, you turbo up into your level 6, and then I turbo up into my level 6, kill yours, and then I win the game.
Yeah, not exactly great when you think about that.
No, so what a lot of people for Agiomon are playing right now until we get the other Agiomon, which might not even be good for the deck, but people are just running Sylphimon, the new Time Stranger Sylphimon, because
I will say right now that Sylphimon is the GOAT. Because when you actually use that with the AGO and the AGO Chust from the actual set, you're able to do so many different plays with that.
I actually think it's probably better than the promo Agiokus because like you're still part yellow, so you still have all of your good yellow synergies. Plus you still have basically the decode spit out an Agiomon to keep a body on the field. Um,
Hmm.
and then like your other level 4 Digimon could just be like a Tech Gatomon just to be able to use it. Like it doesn't like because otherwise you're still just using both Agiomon. Like you're forced to run 8 Agiomon, which sucks. Like I guess the big thing that I kind of hate about Time Strangers is how much extra support you need to from outside of the set. So it's just like the promo rookies, the promo Agiokus, the promo Agiomon, the promo Tamers, the promo Titamon, the promo this, the promo that. Like it it kind of just makes the deck unnecessarily expensive and less accessible than people would want.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not going to change anything anytime soon, especially with how everything is climbing out of the woodworks, you know?
Yeah, it's, and I feel like that's probably the set's biggest drawback is like outside of the fact that 50% of it is Time Strangers and Time Strangers is trying to split between a whole bunch of different decks. Um it just makes things a little bit muddied and awkward because it doesn't give players good directions. Um in order to like figure out what they want. Like yes, there is signposting. So if anyone's unfamiliar with like signposting, it just means like a specific card that's telling you basically the synergies and combinations that you should be playing. So a good example of that is the throne rooms. So like Central Town Throne Room basically says, hey, you probably should play Marukimon and Minervamon in the same deck.
Or
So
the Neptune one where it's play Neptune and Venus.
right. Then, like I said, you have the Aegiomon stuff that wants to play with the Aegiomon stuff. So, like, there is signposting for how to try to build and navigate these decks better, but it it's still awkward and muddled. Is kind of just where I'm getting at. Um, Not saying any of these decks aren't that great. Like some of them do have a lot of potential. Um, because we only hit on like two of them right now. But if anyone's actually curious where Japan currently is, their number one most played new deck is Medusa. The new Medusa stuff is pretty decent. Then their second most played deck, this isn't a new deck, but their second most played deck is Hoodie. So it's just like, okay, cool. Medusa's the new hotness that people are playing right now, just because they want to play something different. But Hoodie is obviously still one of the best decks in the entire game, and that's probably not going to
Uh,
change.
Unfortunately, I think it needs to have a choice restrict to keep it from the previous CS stuff, and then we may see a small change on it. You
Uh,
know?
yeah, and then their third most popular deck again is not a new deck. It is Sakuyamon. Are any of these Sakuyas actually using the promo? Kazuha. This one is
I'm gonna
not.
say no right now.
This one is not. This one is not. Yeah, they're not. They're not even playing the promo Kazuha. But again, this is like week 0, so accessibility is obviously an issue. Where it's just like there's a high chance if you just didn't buy like a case or enough boxes, you're just not going to be able to build or play what you want. So like that's again why this like week 0 data is like incredibly skewed is because it's not good data. Like it's data, it's just not good data. Um
Yeah.
then their fourth most played deck is um Yellow Time Strangers, so it's Aegiomon.
There's
Then
also the vaccine variant that tends to be floating around.
the ones that are reported on this website is literally all just Time Strangers. Like I don't see
Hmm.
a vaccine variant. I've
Maybe
seen
we'll see it eventually.
yeah, like people still got to get cards and test stuff again. Accessibility in week 0 is an issue. Then
Yeah.
after that is Titans. Then after Titans, it is Olympus 12 Mega Zoo. And then after Olympus 12 Mega Zoo, it is Royal Base. Interesting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's their number 8? There's a lot that are like after number 7, they're all kind of just like tied because there's just again not enough data and it's not good data. Then after that is Rocks, technically.
Yeah.
So that's kind of your Japanese top 8 decks in a nutshell. It is cool to see people are playing the new stuff and the new stuff is able to do something. But I think like obviously as a meta develops, we'll end up
We
seeing
gotta
what
see if
sticks.
it We gotta see if it overflows the three kings.
I would say four kings, really.
Who's the
Because
fourth?
so in my opinion, Hoodie, Jessamon, Royal Knights, and Gallant are the four best decks in the game. Probably followed by either Rox or Bastimon. I would say like those are probably the top 5, 6 decks in the game right now.
I
Definitively
would
all tier
I
one.
would definitely disagree on some of this, but okay.
Oh, what do you disagree on? I'm curious.
So the top decks in the game, I think right now are Hootie, Masty, and believe it or not, Fish.
You're high. You are legitimately high.
I'm sorry, but I've seen so many Mastimon and Hootie that isn't even funny.
Fair. The only problem is because Rox exists as a deck, source stripping as a strategy has become functionally almost unplayable. Like that is
Yeah,
my only caveat is because like Rox is such a toxic deck for this game. It's insane. Because it pushes an entire strategy out, which is source stripping, which I think like right now we're seeing this huge emergence of like deletion protection and things with on delete effects that we just can't play around because everything is deleting. Blue is one of the few colors that doesn't delete. So, literally, if Rox is suppressing one of blue's core mechanics, that means blue as a color is not being played, which means there's more deletion based stuff going around, which is currently where the meta development is all around. It's centered around deletion.
hmm
So, not deleting the opponent's Digimon is an incredibly big deal, and there's very few decks that just don't delete Digimon. Whether that's bouncing, throwing it into security, or whatnot, like that's kind of like where the meta kind of is developed in terms of the removal that is currently being ran. So, I applaud that you think Fish is that good. Are we talking like Aegiomon or not Aegismon? Or are we talking like actual Liberator fish?
Liberator Fish is what I'm referring to. The fact that they can just keep turn and OTK if you do not deal with them properly.
I mean, a simple big wall kind of just stops them in their tracks, though.
Yeah, they tend to have something that says "Can it suspend? Don't care what your level is," or get to the bottom of the deck and your removal means nothing.
Yeah, the other issue is Machine Germon's a card, and you don't have a good way of like Machine Germon's redirect, so you still kind of just lose in that sense as well. Like I,
Well, that's where the
it's
song go. It says you can't be destroyed by battle.
but then you're just swinging into nothing, so you might as well just not even swing. So like it's I'm not saying Fish isn't good. I think Fish is a very fine rogue deck. It's just in the face of Hoodie, Jessamon, Royal Knights, like it isn't going to be performing that well. Especially if they see rocks. If they
Dog
see
Engine
rocks,
Mastery definitely does perform really well.
the problem with Mastimon is she already has some very polarizing matchups where it's just like, yeah, I'm really good into Royal Knights. But I'm really bad into Hoodie unless I'm able to like turbo out the Masty to remove their tamers in time. And even then the tamer removal might be slow enough to where Hoodie just doesn't care. Um
hmm
because Hoodie could potentially go fast enough. And then again against rocks, like I just need Digivolve Masty. Like sure, you could get rid of my one tamer, but I'm usually gonna have more than one tamer out most of the time unless I'm like trying to be really aggressive really quickly. But even then, they could Digivolve on their level 5, so they don't even need to go into the level 6.
Yeah, I'm just
So
pointing out, man, that those are the ones I think are the kings right this second. Because I haven't seen many Jesmon players outside of our one guy down in I guess G Town because I'm not giving away my location.
Yeah, according to Bandai's metrics from BT23, Jesmon is 100% one of the more popular and better performing decks.
Believe it. I believe it now.
I mean, Genkumon X, that card's absolutely disgusting. Also
Did not exist.
also the fact that like Jesmon on turn 2 can spawn 4 bodies and deal 3 checks is also kind of disgusting. Like sure that's the high
Yeah.
roll situation, but doesn't stop it from being a situation.
No, I'm actually curious how Digi Police is going to be working through the scene in this upcoming meta
I
because we got new support and the Hisodu is actually a goaded inheritable
Does
because it just says
Digipolice have de-digivolve protection?
yes, actually now the Ginryu in the set has Tuck a Shoe. One of your Digimon can't be Digivolved. Combined with the Ordew from 15 to where you're unaffected by Digimon effects, you pretty much can just say, I'm not moving. And then the Oryu in the set says whenever something suspends, you're going to immediately de-digivolve something by 2.
So my big issue is what is the win con then?
It's control the board. You de-digivolve and you block them to where they have nothing and you just keep swinging.
Is that good enough?
Believe it or not, yes. I had a guy at my locals yesterday break out the police version I'm talking about, and he won. He legitimately won through that because you could not get rid. He always had a tamer in the source, so Kisaru always was live. He always had a spare brigade to delete, so his commands were live. You could not get rid of his orders, and every time you suspended, you were gonna get de-digivolved.
I mean, I guess it doesn't sound terrible. Like I know one of the big things in terms of like Digipolice on why it was never good to begin with was literally because blue was a color. Like I'm full stop not even joking. Like blue being able to strip out their protection and bounce their Digimon and punish them for having little to no sources, like that literally was why Digipolice was not doing good. So I guess like theoretically
Unfortunately,
in an environment where blue is like suppressed and pretty much almost completely absent, like I could see Digipolice doing good.
yeah,
So
it's
far it
something we're gonna have to
hasn't,
see.
but yeah. No, I think like there's a lot of potential in the set, but again, with like very limited number of like high profile events, we're not going to get any good concrete data to see like where the meta is actually going to develop. And then EX11 is like literally right around the corner. Cuz I know a lot of people are like being super afraid of Time Stranger Mega Zoo, and I'm on base going to say I do not think that this deck is as good as people perceive. It's like the Myotis effect. People cried wolf about Japan doing something silly, and it didn't work out until Digital Gate Open came out. So I think
So,
like in the future, this deck could have like way more potential legs. But I think as it is right now, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's going to have as much impact as people think.
so I agree with you on some of that because the deck is more you're evolving into Maruki and Minerva because their effects are significantly better than the rest of them. Because Maruki's able to suspend and swing on opponent's Digimon, dealing piercing damage, while Minerva's pulling a Lord Nightmon out of its hat and de-diging evolving you per Digimon you are actually control. So it's
I
more flowing into that right this second.
I would have thought that they would have taken the other approach because a lot of the Japanese early data is leaning more towards Venus and Neptune.
They still have Venus and Neptune in there. They're just
Yeah.
more focused on the Maruki and the Minerva. You still have those two in there because they are still really good. Whether you're using BT10 Venus or the new BT24 Venus, it still is causing things to not be able to activate when Digivolved. While Neptune is just one of the greatest protections given to Blue right
I'm not gonna deny that Neptune isn't good protection. Um, because I think
now. I
like
said give it to Blue, because
yeah,
Blue does not have very good protection.
no, because I think like I like the idea on using the Haruko to spit out a Shellmon to then warp into a Venus because like my big problem with like Megazoo style decks on base, at least like what this is doing on base, is because each of them have a different condition on how they're going to reduce their digivolution cost. It makes things very muddied where it's just like if the opponent knows what to play around, they could very easily play around it. Or, they could just say, screw it, I don't have to play around anything, and I'm just going to run the floodgate that stops you from reducing your play cost. So,
Yeah,
thank you for 10 memory.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You still
because
have that memory problem, that floodgate problem,
yeah,
which
because this
does
deck
keep
has
them a
no
little bit in
answers.
line.
Yeah, this deck literally runs no answers to it because it doesn't have the ability to run any answers to it. At least, like, none
Not
of these
unless you
early
hard
Japanese
make.
builds.
That's the only thing that could work is that unless you hard make it through an actual stack, you will not be able to get through that floodgate.
Right, which is why I think, like, the Shellmon would be incredibly important to be able to, like, have a cheese play to get into a level 6 Digimon at the bare minimum. Because I know, like, the premise is you're just going to be running your, like, rookie searchers, like, literally all searchers. So all of them are gas. Then you're going to be running AGO to set up your tamers. Then you're going to try to, like, double down on Homeros for when you just hard slam your level 6 Digimon.
Yeah,
And then obviously you're going to be playing in between theater, so that way you actually can try to like use a memory boost type of effect, not only for consistency, but to actually have memory.
In Between is actually one of those cards that kind of surprises a lot. It surprised me when that thing first was revealed,
It's just a memory
because I was
boost.
like, oh, it was yeah, but the fact that you could use it with Dan and just search on your end of turn, man.
Oh, yeah, like obviously they're using Dan and Kana to be able to set up a sanctuary plus their option. Like they're not even running security bomb options like people think they are. Like people like on base when I was like talking about it on Facebook, they were just like, "Yeah, they have like some really good security options and they're going to run Dan to be able to like feel okay about passing over a lot of memory." And I'm just like, "No, no. Like that's not what they're doing. This is a prime example of like why um more often than not it's better to just play accelerants rather than decelerants. So in that
Yeah,
type of scenario, again, why are people going to play a floodgate when they could just play something that's going to make their deck better? And the only reason why they would play a floodgate is because they could recursively bring it back, which is why purple and yellow are like the only two colors that actually run their floodgates at this point, is because they have ways of recycling them.
yeah,
And
which
yellow's only
is gonna
doing it by proxy of purple.
not denying that. I will not deny that at all, considering how much I do it.
Right. So it's like, and that's kind of like where purple sneaks into the meta, where it's just like, yeah, um, a lot of people are like teching against me at this point, and because of Gallantmon's existence and the new BT23 Gallantmon, like it makes purple significantly worse. Um, but it's still like worth the attempt, I guess, is the best way I could describe it. Even though, like, literally outside of Titamon, the 8 top Japanese decks that I listed, none of them were purple outside of Titamon. Again,
Yeah. And speaking of purple, it does have some potential in this upcoming set with a new Millith deck that actually was just being shown off recently. with the form of the new Creepy Mon X and its stuff.
I never believed in the deck. I'm just gonna flat out say that right now. I never believed in the deck, and
It looks funny.
it, it's going to be funny, yes, but you're better off literally. Like it's funny because like your A game plan is just killing the opponent, and your B game plan is a mill out strategy, and there's better decks that do that. Looking at you, purple hybrids. Like, I
That's
don't know.
actually the engine they're running is Purple Hybrid.
Of course it is.
Because they literally just do the Purple Hybrid shenanigans, evolve into Skullsata, evolve into Creepy, didn't delete something, mill, swing, activate, X, evolve, get even bigger damage.
Yeah, no, the deck just feels like it just wants to punch hard. Like that's all it
It
really
wants
is
to
to
punch
me.
hard and it wants to mill hard.
I don't even think it mills that hard. Most of the time, the mill is like 2 cards. It's like, yeah, mill two, and then mill two again. And then by the time you ended your turn, it's just like, oh, how many cards did I mill total? Two, or 2 to 4. It's like, okay,
Well, with
sure.
the EXM stuff, you actually mill fair lot really quick. You can end up with 10 mil real quick,
Yeah,
you
but a
know?
lot of their effects like start changing once they hit 10 to stop milling and start dealing
Unfortunately, you
damage.
are right on that.
So it's just like, yeah, they can mill 210 very quickly, and then all of their
And then
effects
it just
change.
slows down to where it's just the inheritables do the mill.
Yeah, and then they just change to punches. It's like, okay, this is basically just a fake red deck. Like that's all it is to me. It's like it's a fake red deck that just so
Yeah,
happens to mill.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, makes sense.
I do think his new tools do look interesting. Same thing with like for whatever reason why they gave evil dark dragons support with Guilmon stuff. Like we really didn't need that.
So one of our guys, Thanatos, actually was playtesting that. And while some of the evil stuff is good, it's not all great to actually run in the Geegermon itself.
Oh, you
You
wouldn't.
know?
You 100% would not run Miki Dramon in there. You would just use the low end cards because your deck is, like your deck is like very bad. I know, shocker. Having a strategy centered around having 4 or less cards in your hand is bad. Crazy.
Gee, I
Who would have
wonder what
thought?
does that remind you of?
I mean, I don't know. There's
Heavy.
oh heavy. Oh, I mean, it is heavy.
Yeah,
Like
it's Nigidramon is officially her offline
Yeah,
for that.
and it's not good. Like I mean, they're good cards. Don't get me wrong. It's just the deck itself. The core strategy is not good.
No, because it takes a lot to set up. Its payout is very limited, and if you aren't paying attention, like a lot of players like to play, you kind of lose sight of what you can and can't do real quick.
Yeah, like I think like one of the better things to come out of the set is the Medusamon stuff though when it comes to like reptiles and dragon stuff. I mean, granted, it's Dragonkin more specifically. I'm actually not super high on the new Medusa. I'm more high on the old Medusa. Not only just because we got a nice alt art of her, or two nice alt arts of her. Um, I just think she does more. Like, I granted, I guess the idea is you're just going to use this Medusa the one time, and then you're just going to digivolve over her. Like that's the idea. But like in those situations, like it doesn't give you anything else to do with that Medusa because she doesn't have anything else going on with her. Like sure, she's got a lot of keywords, but you digivolve up into her once and then she does her thing and then she doesn't do anything else. Cuz you
Yeah.
can't give her any additional DP boosts because her DP boost built in is based on her when digivolve. So it's just like, it's a
Well,
little
that's
awkward.
actually where you give it more with her new Owen that came with her.
Yeah, but I feel like the deck is obviously like my big problem with the deck is it just feels like an OTK deck that needs to see its level 6 compared to Rocks and Minerals, which is an OTK deck that doesn't need to see its 6.
Yeah.
So, like, your combos are longer and need more pieces in order to fully combo off to OTK the opponent. Otherwise, like, maybe you are just better off just going and turboing into a level 6 or 7 Digimon and hope the opponent doesn't have Digivolve.
Well, that's where it may turn out to go, honestly. Because out of every other tamer, Owen is the other one that is the easiest to activate outside of close when it comes to conditions, you know?
Yeah, I think like my big thing with the deck is it already seems pretty okay. But everything, like all of the data in terms of like what we're going to be seeing come from Owen's deck in BT24 is completely irrelevant because literally in the next set everything changes.
Yeah.
I think like that's the
Legitimately,
big disservice when it comes to like looking at Medusamon stuff. It's just like, oh, I want to play Medusamon for BT24. It's just like, okay, well, you're actually going to be playing Medusamon for EX11. Go sit in the waiting room.
even even then, it's more Dragonkin based. Because from what I've been seeing, the main comic characters are more focusing on their secondary lines than anything else, you know?
Yeah, because all of the novel characters were pretty much shafted. Like, literally almost all of them. The only one
Yeah,
that
they
wasn't
got
shafted was, I would say, Royal Base in terms of getting its second stuff. But,
honestly, that winner was what Royal Base kind of needed. Force a collision appears to where it's not so heavily reliant on, oh, Faye, Tiger B, go, go, go.
I think the deck is still Fey Tiger Vesp.
I'm not denying that, man. I'm really not, because I am a firm believer in the bees.
I have my Bees
But
deck sitting right next to me, so I believe enough in OTK decks to believe in OTK decks.
yeah, it literally is just going to be forcing more of the option of you have to block me, and I will be killing you immediately because I am bigger and punching through you. You know?
Yeah, but like all of the other novel characters pretty much got hardcore shafted because they were almost non-existent in the entirety of the story while Bandai was trying to do their best to flesh out a deck for them. Like I honestly think outside of heavy metal, um the second worst Liberator deck probably is Ice Snow.
Agreed. Scotty was heavily just shafted on her stuff.
Yeah, and like out of all of the secondary characters or novel characters, I think Ryutaro is probably the strongest out of them all.
Yeah, because he already had a number of existing support with the Taiga stuff.
Right,
Follow up now with his stuff now, and instantly his stuff is actually kind of strong.
right, and like that's kind of like I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves with EX11, but like
Yeah, it's
try,
fine. It's like 2 weeks away.
that's like the problem. It's just like I don't know what Bandai was expecting out of BT24. Like, I don't necessarily see BT24 as a hardcore power spike set. Like, it feels like it's just trying to maintain a status quo rather than hardcore power creep the game. And
Mm.
I think, like, mathematically, if you look at it, we're probably going to get 3 total sets with Time Stranger stuff in it. Because this
Yeah,
set
because
has
we still
4 of the
got
Olympus 12. Probably BT25 is going to have another 4 Olympus 12, which means BT26 is going to have the last 4 Olympus 12. Like,
well, you gotta remember that Time Stranger has also included Plutomon now in the Olympus 12 when he originally wasn't a part of the Olympus 12.
I don't know if they're going to label them as an Olympus 12 card. I think they're going to label them as just a Titan card. So I think, like, based on what's to follow, I think ideally Titamon, like a base Titan Titamon that interacts with Titan Skullbaluchi. That will come out in BT25, and then they're
I
gonna
could see it
save.
being one of the new dual cards that they're trying to hype up.
I think we don't know what those are gonna be as of yet. It looks like they're gonna be tamers, but we don't know. Um, and I think like they're gonna save Plutomon for the last part of Time Strangers, and he's gonna be in BT26.
Well, remember the fact this is we do have other AGO forms too that still have to be revealed as well.
Right.
Blue,
So we
green,
have
holy, dark.
yeah. So they'll probably do blue green in BT24, and then holy dark in BT26. Or I mean,
Yeah,
25 is going to be blue green, and then 26 is going to be holy.
and that's unassuming. Well, knowing how the actual game goes, we may see our own character as a dual card if they actually make those more focused towards being like Digimon, you know?
Yeah, we don't have any idea what dual cards are going to be, but that's their new gimmick that they're going to be pushing for the next block. Um, and we'll see how those unfold. It does seem like they're going to be something involving a tamer, which does not
Mhm.
surprise me. We don't know if it's going to be like no, they're not. It's not going to be Digitamer, because we already know that Marcus Tai is, or like Marcus
Damon,
no, I'm trying to think of the blue guy who uses Galmon. I'm blanking on his name for
Thomas.
some reason. Thomas, yeah. Why did I say Ty? Tom. I knew it started with a T. We see Marcus and Thomas being on a single tamer.
Well, that's
So
why I'm thinking that we'll start seeing more like how the Marcuses were with the Shine Greymon stuff, where you're paying for your tamers to basically be Digimon like, you know?
I think that's just going to be specifically for the Marcus, and I think the Marcus is going to be specifically DATS focused, because they're trying to change how pretty much everything works at this point, where they're designating the show's characters or like faction into an archetype, or their show into an archetype. So like we could
Yeah.
very much see like O2 characters in like a year literally having a trait called 02. Like it that just
Well,
feels
we
like
know
the
that
direction that they're
Imperial was
doing.
confirmed in 25.
Yeah. But that's because he's yeah, that's because we already had the leak for that. So no, there's a lot of exciting things, but like I feel like BT24 is just unfortunately going to be completely overshadowed by it.
I'm not
Cuz
denying that. It is a good set for those trying to get into the game, but for those that have been in the game, it is a lackluster set.
yeah, I think like if you're actually just starting the game, unless you really care about Time Strangers, I think there's better entry points. Because like the
I
only
have to disagree
unfortunate
on
thing
that.
about Time Strangers is it just requires a lot of extra cards that aren't in the set in order to make your decks playable or better.
Well, that's why TS itself is actually playable straight from the actual set. You can make it better, quote unquote, with certain cards that come out after from the promo, but that's all depending on your perspective on that, you know?
I
Because they have ways of reducing to be able to use their stuff, you know?
I guess I just think there's better entry points that would require way less time and investment. Like I honestly think CS as a trait has been done better as a jumping on point, because there's multiple different things you could do with CS as an archetype, And outside of literally like one tamer, no CS deck is like incredibly expensive. I think like the big problem is because Time Stranger is a little bit more open, its cards are going to be a little bit more expensive because of just the openness. It's just like, oh, this Marukimon could be played in 3 Time Stranger decks. Well, that means there's 3 different subsets of people that are fighting all for the same card, making it potentially more expensive. And then don't even get me started on like if you want to even attempt the Mega Zoo style where you need 6 super rares and 2 secret rares, or like at least 1 secret rare. It's just like, no, get out of here. Like it's unneedlessly expensive for no real benefit or reason.
Yeah, I hear you.
But if you were to rate the set overall on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it?
I'd said it's at a smooth 7.5.
I was going to give it a solid 6. You're being way more generous. I think thematically it's really good. I like a lot of the cards and concepts that they're doing, but like in terms of like the overarching picture of the game, it feels like the most generous 6 I could give.
Well, compared to how the CS has came out and how Hootie has dominated the meta, I'm giving it the 7.5 out of the benefit of the doubt that it can have the potential to shake the meta, but there's still quite a bit to happen before that can actually go, you know?
Yeah, the way I like to describe this set is this is the waiting room set. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by waiting room is everything feels like it's just starting with this set. And sure, you could do stuff with it, but what it really is needing is the support that's going to be coming in the future. Therefore, you're in the waiting room for that support to come. And then once that support comes, then you actually are going, your investment will end up paying off. And something is going to be like incredibly stupidly broken and powerful. Like Jupitermon, just as an example, Wrath mode, God, who knows how powerful that card can end up being.
It's definitely going to be another secret.
Oh,
There's no doubt
100,
on that.
100% it's going to be another secret, and I bet it's actually going to be the game finisher that the deck needed. Because right now, outside of like chipping aggressively with your level 5s, it really doesn't have any punch factor. It really
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. I don't think it's a bad deck, don't get me wrong, but it's like when I look at a stack based deck, it's just like my big metric is unfortunately magnetic. It's just like, okay, you go up into your level 6 and you don't kill me. Cool, I reverse go into my magnetic and then I kill you. Like that's kind of the metric that I've been going on when it comes to like just traditional stack based decks. So it's just like if you can't OTK, you better have enough protection to defend yourself against de-digivolve in multiple forms of deletion. If you don't have that,
Even then,
yeah, if you don't have
even then,
that,
it's
then
hard.
you're in trouble. So, because I think like just okay, they go into Jupitermon, they don't kill me. I move out, de-digivolve their Jupitermon, and then kill them. Like that's the scenario that's most likely going to play out 9 out of 10 times in that type of a matchup. I mean, sure, they could go into what Shangri-Man Ruin mode and maybe buy themselves a single turn.
Even Ruin mode's been getting kind of power trapped, you know?
I think the game is just getting faster to where it's just like if you don't turbo into Ruin mode and you don't win literally the following turn because your Digimon replaces itself, like what are you doing then?
Yeah.
I mean, like Ruin mode has interesting synergy with Aegiomon and the decode stuff. So like I could see like this is actually a deck where you would consider Ruin mode, where I think a lot of other decks like Ruin mode was a harder sell because you want to make sure you keep your Digimon around.
Yeah.
Because I think yeah, like Ruin mode in Aegiomon actually seems pretty decent. because then it gives the deck enough time to maybe find its way to deal some extra damage, and because a lot of its power is on its level 5s, it should be relatively easy to get back into one. So, I mean, it's all hyperbole for the most part.
That's all it really is right now.
Yeah, just food for thought. Like I see potential, but that's literally where the hope stops is I see the potential, but right now it's not doing anything. So I'm not saying like I'm not trying to write off the set as like a bad set. It's just it very clearly is setting something up for later. And it's giving us some decent tools to consider now, but it's not going to replace what actually is going to be good in the game.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
still going to top. You'll see it go up here and there.
I mean, we won't because there's
But
no events.
you know what I mean.
I know, I know. I
We'll still see them come through when we actually have the events. I mean, this set is releasing just in time for Worlds, so who knows? We may see it come out of the woodworks and just win Worlds. You know?
that's a stretch. Like because Worlds is also going to have EX11 and EX11 more people are excited for, so they're going to abandon their Time Stranger decks for Liberator decks, and the power dynamic that EX11 has is like incredibly large. EX11 is 100% like I would define as a power creep set. Um, it's sure granted in the context of taking all of the Liberator decks, which the majority of them were not meta competitive, and actually turns them into meta competitive decks. But at the same time, like you could say, okay, yeah, that is borderline power creep. Granted, there are doing some things in the set more specifically that is like functional direct power creep, which is why I'm calling it a power creep set, even though it's technically catching a lot of decks up to the current meta.
Yeah.
But I think like we're gonna end up seeing more Liberator decks than Time Stranger decks come Worlds.
I will not deny that. We may see the rise of the bees,
Yeah,
considering how oppressive with the OTK Vespa was.
because I
And
think
its
like
only real problem was where blockers got in its way.
yeah, because
Take that equation out, and
I think like with EX11, there's gonna be like a new litmus test called the Ex Machina test, where it's just like, how does your deck fare against Ex Machina? Again, I have no idea how fast Ex Machina is going to be able to move, but people are already theorizing like its level of protection is like actually kind of insane. That what do you actually do against it is the real question. So it's just like the Time Stranger Mega Zoo deck. Like, what do you do against Ex Machina? Nothing. Okay, cool. It will just eventually win the game because you do not have blocker and you could keep your stuff around, but none of it will actually mean anything. So like maybe Ex Machina will be a new litmus test in terms of like what do you do against X deck?
yeah, because everything in that deck says, hey, is this card in the source? Link it immediately.
Yeah, it again, I don't know how good Ex Machina is going to be. Don't know how fast it's going to be, and we still have what the other secret rare in EX 11 that has
Which
not been
is
spoiled.
obviously going to be Shoto's 7.
Oh, 100%. Like we're recording this way before EX11 is finished spoiler season. I'm 90% confident Shoto's level 7 is going to have multi-attacking shenanigans where it's just like, yep, I'm going to be over your Ex Machina Mon 6 times or whatever amount it needs to in order to delete it. Like, narratively, that's exactly what's going to happen in my head. It's just like, how do you deal with this other than just attack over it multiple times? Oh, well, Green could just attack over it multiple times, so...
And it's probably going to have an ability that reroutes Vortex. Its key mechanic.
I don't even think it needs to do that. It just needs to attack over Ex Machina multiple times, and then once Ex Machina is gone, the game is over. They lose. So
Yeah.
most likely it'll be like attack into a Digimon. If it isn't deleted by battle, burn a security, and then unsuspend this Digimon. Like, it's probably going to have something stupid like that.
Yeah. Zan, I'll be right back. I gotta go do something real quick.
Well, I mean, this is probably a really good place to end it, because I think we got the majority of our thoughts out.
Yeah.
So I guess as we're kind of coming things to a close, feel free to tell us your thoughts about BT24 down in the comments below. This is the Digitalks podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we will catch you all in the next episode. Later.